Welcome to Fail Forward Friday with myself, Roche and
Malesela Molepo.
I'm welcoming myself because I haven't been here in, how many?
In 2 weeks, though.
2 weeks.
In 2 weeks.
Yeah, life has been happening. So in that 2 weeks, we have had my birthday.
Yes.
We have had our daughter's birthday.
Yes.
On the same day.
On the same day.
4th of June.
Yes.
Hey, I mustn't forget that.
You'll never forget it now.
4th of June.
No, you'll never forget it.
And we had your birthday earlier on. Yeah. So I think one of the shows we must just have one big cake here.
Yes, dog. Hey, actually, you said you're going to bring cake.
I forgot, man. I've got goodies here, man.
You reminded me.
I've got goodies here.
It's because you've been jet setting there to look
life is
with your private jet.
Okay.
We're together.
Moving right along. So, the show basically it's about blunders, failures, mistakes, and it's usually I haven't been here in a while, so it's usually business blunders, it's entrepreneurial blunders, errors in judgment, and product blunders. And today we are going to specifically talk about
the product blunders,
packaging blunders, which is something that is quite often not spoken about.
Yeah.
Right? So please like, comment, share.
Subscribe.
Please don't send me WhatsApp messages of what you think of the show. There's comments section below. Put your comments there. I would love to see them.
Doc, you have your WhatsApp number over it.
No, people that know me. Oh my word, I haven't been here in a while. Tiamo, please rescue me. You know what? Anyway, because I see he's on form. But anyway. So today we have a guest.
Yes, we have a guest. That's actually three guests in a row.
In a row.
It's clearly we don't like each other's company because we're inviting everyone these days.
We're tired of each other.
We're tired of each other.
Yeah, man. I miss you. I miss our one-on-one time. But anyway, we have a friend of the show.
A new friend of the show. Yes.
Her name is.
Should introduce.
Oh yes. Welcome to Fail Forward Friday.
Thank you very please.
So introduce yourself, what you do. Yeah.
Okay, I'm Reneilwe Marengwa.
A lot of people can't hear you. You must.
I have a soft voice.
Yes, that's why
I don't
even
speak
more.
too loud.
Yes, go for it.
So I'm Reneilwe Marengwa. I'm a chef, and I've gone into manufacturing. So I have my own drink, Pinxy Pink Lemonade, and that's what I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
When did you start Pinxy
Lemonade.
Pinxy Pink Lemonade.
Okay. Pinxy.
Yeah.
Okay. Pinxy.
It's a combination of two words actually. So it's pink, the color pink, which is actually the color of love, and then pixie.
Is red not? Okay, no, that's danger.
Red is for strong emotion.
Yes.
So a lot of people think red is for love, but it's actually just for strong emotion. Like it incites hunger. That's why Coke uses it. If you want aggressiveness, strong emotion.
Well,
whereas love is actually the color. Pink is the color of love.
Soft.
It's soft. It's very playful. It's gentle, which is why it's more feminine.
Yes.
Even a story about back in the day, two teams were going against each other. So one of the teams painted the other one's change room, the guy's change room, pink, because pink softens you down, it calms you down, so that they wouldn't come out onto the field and be like aggressive and win the game.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so the other word is pixie. It's a type of fairy. And the reason for that is because I believe everybody has magic in them. This is why we're here on Earth, to share your magic with people. So when you put them together, you get Pinxy, a pink fairy.
Oh, okay. When did you start the business and what informed, the business?
So I started, it's been an interesting entrepreneurial journey for me because I think my journey more than anything has been about, the most part of up till this point has been about me, like my personal growth in it. To be the kind of entrepreneur that I need to be. So I started this, I think, 2016. Yeah, so, but a lot of it has been, which I think this is what entrepreneurship is about. It's really like a calling. So I think the journey is meant to prepare you as a person before you go out with whatever it is you're saying you're about, that you are ready for it. So that's my experience with my journey. But yes, 2016, more or less.
Okay, and why the drink?
So for me, the reason for it is because I started thinking about death, and I'm gonna die at some point, which is a guaranteed thing for everybody, right? And it's weird that people generally don't talk about it. And it's the one thing about life that we are guaranteed of. We are all going to die. We don't know when. So then I started thinking about what would my contribution be? How do I want to
Legacy.
not even legacy, but how would I have made this a better place? Even if it's like in the tiniest, smallest little manner, but how would I have left it better, right? And then I started thinking about what's common about my life. So everybody tells me, oh, you're so happy, you're so happy, you're so happy. And I'm like, And it happens a lot when I'm even going through bad stuff and people are like, but you have such a high energy and you're always happy. So I was like, oh, I see. I've learned to be happy so that even when I'm going through the worst of the worst, you can tell. You know what I mean? So then I thought, okay, I'm a woman, so I can speak to women. So my target audience is women. My thing would be teaching or like reminding women about creating your happiness, because we are so taught to look for happiness always externally. You know, you'll be happy when you're a size 32. You're happy when you get this job, when you get married, when you get the car, the house. All of it is always external, which is why possibly now a lot of people are not necessarily the happiest, because happiness, as we define it at Pinxy, is the result of love from within. So things have to be from within. So even when you get the car, you're able to enjoy it better because you are already happy. It adds onto the happiness versus that being the source of your happiness. So then my thing was, I'll create a drink that reminds women that only they can create their happiness every time they take a sip. So we have Pinxy.
Okay. What do you think?
No, it's actually quite interesting.
Are you happy person?
Me? You know me, dog. Me, I'm always.
I think the viewers don't.
The viewers even know, I'm sure. Yeah. No, I'm a very happy person.
You're a happy person.
I'm a very happy person.
But you see, that's also interesting with the definition why it was very specific with us that it must be the result of love from within, because we're not talking about giddy, always smiling, and
it's
you
joy,
know what I mean?
Basically.
It's that nothing can take away from you. That even when you lose, like one of my favorite uncles passed away, and I wasn't sad. I was sad, but only for a short period, because I was able to immediately go into, but we had an amazing time when he was around. So it's not easily taken away. Do you know what I mean? Of course, you'll experience the challenges, the sadness, you know what I mean, life, but it's not something that you lose.
Can I ask a question? Sure. But why the drink? Why a drink? Why not biscuits? Why not? Because biscuits make everyone happy. I've never seen someone angry eating a biscuit.
Really? Somebody could say that about ice cream.
Or chocolate.
Chocolate, like why? Yeah,
but
why
it's,
not?
It's that whole thing as well that you're not ice cream, you can't make everybody happy. So I don't know about a specific thing that would have made people happy. The reason I chose lemonade is because I wanted something that was simple, that wouldn't cloud or take over the message, and the message is create your happiness. So I didn't have to go invent lemonade. Lemonade was already there. Pink lemonade was already there. So my thing was just, I'm a chef, so I had to find the recipe, the proper balance between tartness and sweetness, because it's a lemonade. So the ingredients of a lemonade is water, sugar,
and lemons.
So we add cranberry juice to ours to make it pink. So I wanted something very simple and something very nostalgic as well, because the essence of being Pinxy is embracing your childlike self.
Okay.
Right? So like you'll know with Red Bull, for example, their main activity is extreme sports.
Yeah.
So whatever they do is
extreme
situations
sports,
where high energy is required. So with us, it's being childlike. So I wanted something that would remind you of, I don't know how many people grew up with lemonade, but you know, lemonade is very nostalgic.
We used to have a lemon tree at home, and we'd do it once a year.
Oh, that's amazing.
And then we'd do lemonade there, a whole lot of sugar, and my mom would be so angry because we finished the sugar. Yeah.
So with me finding the recipe, the balance was to find, so in one sip you have enough tartness and enough sweetness, because that's where a lot of people get it wrong. It's either too sweet or too tart, you know, so I've come up with.
Here's a
pretty good
cool
idea.
product slogan, right? A cool product slogan is, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. Meaning,
I mean, it's there already.
Is
and
it?
Not as our slogan. Our slogan is create your happiness, which
okay.
kind of ties into that whole thing. That
You
the
say life is
foundation-
gonna give you a lot of things,
It
but
is.
just make lemonade.
But how, maybe, I mean, without getting philosophical,
Sure.
how does one create their own happiness? How do you, what should happen for you to get to a point where you're like, I'm happy, you know?
At the core
Is it
of it,
affirmations or what?
at the core of that, of what create your happiness is about, is gratitude, right? So I have found in my own journey, like I said, I just wanted to make a drink, actually, a pink one, and then life. I was like, oh, okay, you want, and the minute, you know how they say, the minute you declare something, then life is like, oh, let's see if you're really ready. So when they create your happiness thing, so I think that's what my journey has been, preparing me for that. Wait, what was your question?
How do you? Yeah.
So what I found is that the more I looked within, I was put in situations where I was more appreciative of what I already have. Like I always talk to like my friends about how, you know, we're always looking for miracles and blessings, this and whatnot. And I'm like, life, when you wake up, you are not breathing on your own. You can hold your breath only to a certain point, and that's it. The blood that runs through your body, you are not in control of that. It's just a system that's working. You know, I believe in God, so I believe God, our creator, is the one making that happen. But we are not in charge of it. Somehow, though, we wake up every single day and we take life for granted. The fact that you can see, somebody who cannot see, the fact that you are healthy, we are all healthy, we are here. Somebody's
You have
not.
a roof over your head.
You have food,
You have
we have
food.
water. I asked for a thing of espresso. I mean,
And it just came.
if you look at your body alone, so you don't even have to look at anything else, just you wake up and you concentrate on this body that you have, there are a gazillion things to be grateful about every single day. Until you probably die, you could find a reason just looking at your body to be grateful for. Do you know what I mean?
So I was watching a clip of the Diary of a CEO. Who's that boy?
What's his name?
Stephen Bartlett.
Stephen Bartlett, yeah.
And I think he has this guy, I think he's like a monk or something. It's one of the recent episodes. And he asks him, are you happy? And the guy says, for him, that's not even the right question to ask. He doesn't look at life
As happiness.
or I'm unhappy. He looks at pretty much to what you're saying, that I'm grateful.
Yeah.
That there are certain things that, we take for granted, and we keep on chasing. In fact, one of the books we were supposed to review this year
Hey, dog.
by Matt Haig. It's quite a popular book on depression, and he talks about something quite interesting. And I was doing a research on consumerism, and he says wanting things is the foundation of unhappiness.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Right?
once,
A foundation of unhappiness. Why do you think we stop being grateful, or we maybe not stop being grateful, but we don't take things that we should be grateful for into consideration?
But you just answered it. Is from a mind of lack, like that whole lack mindset, because you're constantly looking at what you don't have versus what you have. Do you know what I mean? So even if you only have a slice of bread, plain bread to eat with water, you have water, you have bread to eat. But we're constantly looking at the next level, which most of the time it does make people, very depressed. And I have a thing that God is not in the business of giving you more things to be ungrateful for. So the mere fact of you wanting something, you are essentially saying, I don't have, right? Which I believe in energy. So I think when you do that, wherever that sits, I don't have, that energy must come, because the universe also is in the business of proving you right. Whatever you believe, you are right. If you say I don't have, it must prove you right that you don't have, right? So you create more and more of that energy. So, but if you wake up and you are grateful for the little things, funny enough, that's actually how you attract things in your life. Because again, then the universe says, oh, she says she has. She says life is abundant. She says she doesn't lack anything. Whatever she needs is provided for. Let's prove her right. So let's send more things to her. And this is how you are happy.
Here's a question on that. Maybe bringing it back to business as well.
Yeah, I was actually going to get to that to say, and I want to hear your thoughts based on what she's saying, because the essence of, if you look at the stories that we have covered, right, from the first episode of founders who lost it along the way, and if you look at the common thread in most of, not all of them, but in most of the stories that we've covered, tends to be people wanting more, right? More and more and more, and not being able to draw a clear demarcation to say, when is enough enough? You know, and I want to hear your thoughts, because I don't want us to sort of say it's not good to be ambitious, but at the same time,
there's a difference between ambition and not being satisfied and always looking for more. Those are different energies altogether.
Hence, there's a thin line between those two, because some people can easily construe what we are saying to say, oh, so you're saying I must just be happy here. I mustn't try to move more.
So there's obviously a difference between contentness and
and happiness.
And happiness. Being content means you are fine with what you have now. You're not satisfied, but you are fine. You are
satisfied though.
No, but I'm saying what I mean by satisfied is not necessarily, oh, I don't want anything anymore.
Yeah.
Because I think there's a different, and that's what you're saying now with the whole ambition thing, right? Ambition is ambition. No one great has ever done something without having ambition. You know what I mean?
The difference is, though, where it slightly changes is, if I don't have it, I'm still okay. It's okay that I will go out for it and look for it and, you know, have dreams and goals and all of that. But if none of that happens, I'm still okay. Whereas the other side is, I won't be okay.
Yeah, that's fair. Look, I think maybe the other thing is, dependent on how big your goal is, you will go where you would want to go get it, right? And what I mean by that is, you set any company needs targets. If you're not making money, it's not to say that you'll be content. It's impossible. You know, if there's a vision that you have and you're saying, listen, my vision is to sell Pinxy Pink Lemonade and I still need to feed myself at night. You cannot be content if you're not feeding yourself at night.
I have very different views on how all of that works as well, because I think,
what's your view?
I think also business is also moving towards that, where before business was mainly let's make money, a business, and even the definitions is a successful business is successful because it's profitable, right?
Fair, yeah.
Which is where we come from, and now I think where we're moving more towards is what Pinxy, for me, it's about. It's how do I help even one person wake up to the power that they have and remember that they're here to bring gifts, that magic that they have. If I just do that, even for one person, it makes me happy. So even you'll see my journey, it hasn't been like let's make money. I am content with even the pace of it, because I'm like, I want to build something solid, something that will last, but something that actually brings positive change. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And has positive effects. And I've also always believed money is a measure of how well you're doing something. It's not something we chase. So if I do this really well, make sure the foundation is set and whatnot, money will automatically come.
100%.
You know what I mean? Somebody said to me the other day that if I look at my journey, which I never really thought about or never did, but he was like, if you check from the time that you chose to do Pinxy, you've never gone hungry. And I was like, hey, that's actually true. There's been challenges, for sure, but I've never been hungry. I've never not have a place to live or whatever. Even though things did get like really tough, I have moved back home and all of that. However, it's always fed me. And I've never been stressed. Whereas I've looked at other entrepreneurs and the stories you hear is depression, being admitted in hospital, all of that. like it comes with so much, and I'm like, okay. I'm glad then that I am not chasing money. I would rather be intentional and purposeful, because that also informs my journey, that at no point has this, no matter how bad it's gotten, stressed me to a point where I'm like depression or thinking of taking my life, or do you know what I mean? And I'm sure everybody's journey is different, but I think if you also look at a lot of businesses, everybody's starting to move towards the being purposeful. How are we taking care of the earth? Where, plastic was created a long time ago to make things convenient, and everybody now is going back to slow movement. What are we in a rush for? Where are we rushing to?
The problem is there's AI. It's impossible.
So
Let's actually,
So you asked, what is this book for? So we're like, why is this book here for? Right? And what Patrick McGee talks about, and I think to your point about how, in fact, he sort of does a contrast between the China and the American economy and how they approach business. And the Americans have always been about profit.
Yes.
Maximizing shareholder wealth, And
after our good friend.
Yes.
Jack Welch.
Jack Welch, yeah. And I think for a very long time, that has been the slogan.
Yeah.
The business.
The American dream.
Yeah. The business of business is business.
Yes.
But I think what then China has, done is they've slightly, twisted this whole thing around. What China is basically saying is, for us, it's about market dominance. It's about control.
Yes.
Right? So it's a numbers game more than a profit game. So ours is, how many of these things can we make to gain control? And the reason why I'm bringing this up is, for a very long time, I mean, when the Pope Francis, my favorite Pope, died, and they looked at how much he had in the bank account, I think there was $100 in his bank account, right? And some letters and whatever. And I think it has always, every time when the Pope dies, whether it was Pope Benedict or John Paul or whoever, those stories come of how simple this life, people lived. But also, I mean, there was a time where the Pope was, Francis was donated a Lamborghini, with the colors of his white robe and gold stripes. Yes. And he took it and, asked for it to be sold, and the money goes to charity.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't understand that.
But I mean, let's be honest. I don't think any other pope wouldn't have done the same.
No. I'm not comparing them. I'm comparing any other. I mean, you would be like, check my ride.
Never. As a pope, now I'm out here in the Lamborghini with the pope. Product placement, dog.
Right?
That's proper product placement.
But a lot of people get confounded to say, no, but how, right? And I think because
that's the kind of person he was.
To the person, he's found his inner happiness.
Yeah.
Right? In contrast, Tim, I'm trying very, 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 very hard.
Don't go to that
very hard to do the show. To do the show without mentioning his friend. I mean, his friend is now being diagnosed with some mentally. This is the richest guy in the world. The richest guy in the world.
Yeah.
And I thought about this, right? One, we spoke about this, that he doesn't have guardrails. He doesn't have people that rein him in.
Yeah.
But I think I took it a step further to say, not only doesn't he have a board that calls him to order, but he also doesn't have a companion that calls him to order. He doesn't have a life partner that says, no, but this is wrong. He is like a loose cannon at home, at work, everywhere.
Well, we can't say that, dog, because he's all about his kids. He loves his kids.
But he was also...
the reason he sold all his luxury stuff is because of his kids.
True. How many? 13.
Well, kids, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. How you can afford it?
No. I don't think it's a question of money. I think the question is, can you afford? Can you give them the love and the time?
Yeah.
But I think for me the message is, here's this other person. He doesn't seem to be happy.
Who's this? My friend.
Your friend. So who's this guy? Sam Altman.
Yes.
When he was asked about this case that's coming between him and Elon, and what Elon was saying and all this kind. And he said something, summarized this for me.
Yeah.
That he's a very unhappy person.
But do you think, okay, I have a perspective that is different, right? Because obviously we're speaking about profit now and how companies are for profit. Now, do you think Elon is all about profit though?
So if you double click on Elon, there's two Elons. There's a good Elon and there's the messy Elon.
But don't you think all of us have that? It's just that because he wears his out on his sleeve.
Well, I think
we see
not only that.
so much.
I think because he's the richest person in the world, so the spotlight will always be on him and what he does. Right. So we then get it's
that whole thing we spoke about where government, everybody, media will focus on government and their what you call this. Government and their scandals, but outside, private companies have more scandals than government kind of thing.
Yes. So I think Elon has got the good side to him. The projects that he embarks on.
Yes.
Solar and. So you see that, and that's the good Elon. When he gets on that mode, he's the good Elon. Which for most of us, that's the part
beneficial.
that we know. Yeah. But then there's the messy Elon that comes where he starts making up stories about white genocide in South Africa. And we know there's nothing like that. And he starts, cutting funding to Africa where he comes from. That's the messy Elon.
Yeah.
And
you're hurt, dog.
No. You are right that we do have two parts to it. I mean, every person has got those.
Yeah.
Even I like to believe even the Pope.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Has those two parts. But I think what Reneilwe is saying is, it's where do you want to focus your energies on? Do you want to focus your energies on chasing external things, or do you want to focus your energies on, internal locus of control?
Yeah.
The fact that, you are grateful.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, my sense is a lot of people are chasing external validation. And especially in the social media era where you get to see, I think what social media has done, the unintended consequence of social media, it has divided us. It has divided the world. Because, 10, 15 years ago, I didn't know what you think.
Yeah.
Right. So I was confined in my own space.
Yeah.
And if we were all happy, we're all Pinxy, all of us, right? But now we are open.
Yeah.
Right? And I get to see a rude person.
Yes.
And I get to see another rude person. And then we get polarized.
Yeah.
And we're not even aware, right, that today, and I mean, suddenly there's a whole through movements coming up that, no, there's nothing good about men. Men are trash. And that movement gains momentum, right? But also, there is the good side that men, do, right? But you find that when a movement comes in, it gains momentum, we start to be polarized. So I find that it was intended to connect us, but it has actually divided us more.
Well, I mean, again, for every good, there's bad.
Yeah, but I think here, for every one good, there's four or five bad.
I don't know.
Not necessarily.
Yeah, I don't know. Because it could be both ways. And maybe you can go first.
So just before we go on, so if you look at, for instance, what's happening globally, right, in terms of the whole shift from the left to the right.
Yeah.
Right, where there's a whole movement of people saying, no, actually, we don't want immigrants, or we want to close ourselves off from the world. And if you look at the tools that were used to propagate that division, it's social media, right? Cambridge Analytica and all those stories, right?
Yes.
And it was deliberately done to push people away, unaware that we're actually being polarized. So in her book, Surveillance, Surveillance Capitalism, and she's basically saying that there's Big Brother who is intentionally, he calls it behavior modification. Yes. That they are behaviorally modifying us without us being aware.
Yes. Right. Okay, but with that said, Doc, do you not think, and that's, I mean, the human beings, we generally migrate to the negative things of life, right? We don't see the positives as well. Yeah. And positives can be major. How many times has people been put in awareness of bad things that are happening? In fact, global warming and these things, and as you said, I mean, taking care of the world, that all spans from what? People actually being vocal about, listen, you're killing our world, which comes from what? Social media. If social media didn't happen, we were still gonna build like we never built.
True.
In fact, China actually had to change.
True.
China had to change the way China manufactures and everything because they knew how bad the manufacturing was to the world and whatever, right?
Yeah.
And now they're one of the greenest countries in the world.
Yes, and we are saving the world, right? We are saving the earth, which is important. But mental health has gone up.
Mental health has come up.
Yes, human beings.
But that's what I'm saying. You can't. That's the thing about, and I mean in business in general, you can't have as much as we are in the business in some form or way. You, for instance, in your Laura School. Laura School is obviously teaching people, right, how to obviously get to a point where they can get great businesses, right? But it doesn't mean that they're going to go out there because you're giving them ideals of how to do things. But it doesn't mean that they're going to go out there and say, hey, I'm going to be successful because I came to Laura School. And that shouldn't necessarily be a negative because they didn't get business.
No. We're talking about happiness. I'm
saying in general, what I'm trying to get to is the general phase of how there will always be bad for good. It's impossible for only good to always happen if something happens.
No. Of course,
bad.
there's a head and a tail.
Yes. The other day, the other day, I saw someone talking about Christianity, right? And they said it was a video. The guy was like, they were like, sorry, sir, are you a Christian? He's like, you know what? The problem with me saying I'm a Christian is that people have been put into slavery because they say they're Christian. There's people that have called themselves Christians, but then they've done something that is against what we would know Christianity to be. And then the guy said, I'm a follower of Christ. Because there's two different things. I followed what he said I must do within the word, and therefore I'm going to do it in this way. But saying that I'm a Christian doesn't necessarily mean that I'm good.
Not true.
And that's basically what I'm trying to get to say, I don't even think it's a bad or a good thing. It's just there is bad, there is good in everything that we do.
No. I think, remember, we are talking about happiness and she's
that's
building.
In fact, we're actually supposed to
talk about
No, we're getting there. That's the build up to that, right? To say, the happiness that we have seen has been somehow affected by the effects of social media. And I mean, you would have seen reports on Instagram on young girls, for instance. There's been, and also there are concerns coming through with AI and mental health.
100%.
And
intelligence and all of this.
To say, yes, there's benefits, but as we are building the benefits, we must also be cognizant of the impact it has on human behavior and happiness. The whole thing that young men don't see dating as a priority anymore because I have Siri. Siri can be my girlfriend.
What? Tiama, are you?
And they have like conversations.
Yes, you can have conversations.
She'll respond like a
like a normal
with emotions and all of that, which is scary.
Gens are getting rejected out there, dog. What else can we do?
Anyway, let's pivot.
Let's pivot on the product.
Yes.
Now, going from happiness, which is the product, do you want to speak around, just give us an introduction around what product packaging is actually meant to do for people? Because actually I had a question, but you will get to it afterwards, of what went into, this is the kind of product that will make people happy because I'm bringing happiness.
Oh, and I think that's a very interesting one because that's not the claim with my drink. So purely because we are saying create your happiness, only you can do that. So drinking this or this brand, I think that's what makes it a little bit different from a lot of brands is that we are not promising anything. We can't do that for you.
Yes.
We can be a partner in your journey to remind you, which is why I said every time you drink, you are reminded that only you create your happiness. So unlike a drink that gives you energy, right? The claim there is drink this, it will give you energy. So the brand is doing something for you, whereas with ours, it's not necessarily that in that way.
Tomorrow you can bring out something and it's still the same message. It's not...
Yeah, because the main message is create your happiness. How do I relay that message in a way that then create a product, create a brand around it, that the message is easily carried through that? Do you know what I mean? So then bringing the packaging into it, what do we look at? For example, so I positioned this as an African luxury product, which was an interesting thing. So I had to go learn about luxury products and how they speak, how they present themselves, you know, all of that stuff. And a huge part of it is packaging, right? That whole, how do you present yourself there? And so like little things like, or not so little, you use a glass container versus a plastic one, right? And this is where I started when I still had like my MVP, human viable product, when I still was testing the message and all of that, that I started out with a plastic bottle and went out, and I was still figuring out how do I want to position this based on who our target market is. So then you understand then luxury, then glass, because there needs to be quality that goes into it and how you're presenting that, right? Which that can be another topic as well, because right now with everybody moving towards sustainability and being green and all of that, you can still do plastic, but that's obviously eco-friendly, and still position it to be luxury, right? So there are different elements into it that will go into it. Like, for example, with luxury, the history of the house. So Pinxy as a house, what's the history of it that comes with it? That's what a luxury product should have. So
it tells a story, basically.
Yeah, it tells a story of where... So with newer products like myself, we would then have to go and create the history, because unlike a Dior, I didn't start in 1865, so I don't have like over 100 years or of history. So then for me, we have to go and tell the story. So which, when I was doing my research, interestingly, lemonade, what do you think of lemonade? First thing that comes to mind?
Lemons.
Okay.
Bitterness.
Okay, besides the product, how it's been positioned?
For kids.
And where it comes from, and why for kids?
Because they used to do lemonade. And you know, America and their stories.
The lemon stand.
The interesting part is that actually lemonade started in Egypt, Africa. Right? Okay. And it used to be called katamisat, which was a lemon drink, and they would sweeten it with like dates, right? So for me, then it was very interesting when I did the history, and I'm like, oh, so this feels very purposeful, like I'm bringing it back to Africa, whereas it was popularized by, and the Americans were actually very last on that list, because it went through in Paris, where they used to sell it, you know, where they used to hold the things that had the tank at the back and sell it. There was a company that got the rights to be the only ones that do that.
How? Who did they get the rights from?
I think from the government or whatever. So they were the only ones that were allowed to sell that, and they were called, I think, lemonadiers or something of the sort. But you see, so it was first in Paris, then it went to UK, then lemonade went to US, where it was now lemonade stand and all of that. But the actual origin is Egypt, Africa. So there was a little bit of pride that I felt like, oh, actually, I'm going back to the roots, and this is where we tie in our history, that actually it did start here. So now I'm reviving all of that history and bringing it back to South Africa to say, well, this is where it starts.
Okay. No, I wanted to finish your thought. No, finish your thought.
I mean, that I was not going to other elements of it.
What is the importance or the relationship? Because a lot of entrepreneurs don't have stories on their products.
Yeah.
Right? I sell this.
Yeah.
What has been the impact for you when you started attaching a story to your product? What is the importance? Why should a person have a story for their product?
For me, and like I said, so when I first started, it was, I wanted a brand, obviously, to carry the message and whatnot. And then I came across a lady called Swati Martin. She has a brand called Yeswara. She's closed it now, and she did luxury teas. And she was known as the African queen of luxury. And I remember when I came across her brand, I was so happy and so proud in how it was positioned, because I kind of detest how everything Africa has to have leopard print and lions and whatnot. It's like, there's so much more to us than just that, you know what I mean? And if you go to her page, her Instagram page, and Yeswara, it's YSWARA, you'll see how beautifully it was done, and it is from Africa, you know? So then she inspired me to say, okay, I want to be part of that, where a product from Africa can be presented and exist on a global scale in the most beautiful way, in the most positive, purposeful way that, you know what I mean? And it's not this typical, you know, like we have lions in our backyard kind of vibes.
But we do. I'm joking.
Do you know? So for me, it was that. I was inspired by her to do something where I'm like, okay, I want to do African luxury, to show people that we have high quality products that can come out of Africa that are beautiful and really can exist anywhere. And, you know, that when you come across the brand, you wouldn't know where it came from necessarily because it has those high quality standards that we see from other luxury products as well. Do you know what I mean? So that was the story behind it. And when I learned even more and went, you know, digging into luxury products and what they're about, like one of the things would be about the savoir-faire of the brand, which is the know-how, right? The passed down know-how. And for me, when I went back into, again, my lineage, the women from my maternal side have always been good with their hands. So my great-grandmother, Mma, from Siabuswa, used to be a seamstress. So naruka di trupa. Do you know what trupa is? Yeah, so naruka, all the you know, she'd sew all the gears for the people participating in that. And then my grandmother was a great cook and an amazing hostess, right? And my mother used to do hair, but she went into teaching later. So with me, again, I'm a chef. You know, so I was like, oh, so we do have actually part of the heritage does exist, the passed down thing that ours in our family is to work with our hands. So those are part of some of the things that come into what defines a luxury product from any other product, you know.
So what has been the packaging mistakes for us to get here? Where did you start? How did it evolve to where we are now?
The drama. And it's interesting because, you know, I have nieces and nephews and I'm always saying to them, use me because, you know, they are interested in business and whatnot, which a lot of it is kamalomo and not necessarily because they really want that because it looks fancy when you are at a Starbucks, day in the life of an entrepreneur. I'm like, that's not what entrepreneurship is. You will never see me post stuff like that because I'm conscious of that. I don't want to mislead people, you know, but I've always said, use me, I'll learn because we've had to just figure it out. We are first generation. Well, I'm not necessarily first generation. My dad had a business. Yes, I think, but he had a business. But a lot of the stuff we have to figure it out ourselves, right? And I've always been like, whatever I know, I want to pass down. So part of the things was with packaging. So when I started, I ended up selling my bike. So I used to cycle, and I had a beautiful road bike, which cost like 12 grand. And I went to Cash Crusaders. They gave me 4 grand for it.
No, it should have just come to me. I would have bought it. Your fault.
But you know how it is when you are desperate for something, and I needed labels, right? The drink was going. I was starting to do markets, and we started a Brownson's market. Shout out to them; they're amazing in that way. And I needed labels, so I got a quote. This is what they were quoting. Went and sold the bike, did the labels, and then later on, 4,000 labels, by the way, right? Only to find that they actually do not meet the standard requirements. So you have to go to DAF, Department of Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries, and there's actual standards of what needs to be on the labeling, the size, like certain things have to be 2 millimeters.
So
it can't be bigger than that.
Label testing.
Yeah, right?
So when they test your label,
So mine, for example, had, like the fonts were wrong. I had on there homemade lemonade, and if you plan on obviously expanding, you can't say homemade if it's not going to be homemade, right? Yeah. So all 4,000 of those labels were not actually compliant.
Yeah, there was the bike gone.
That was the bike, but it was a beautiful experience as well because I learned a lot. Like, you know, otherwise I wouldn't have known. I was good with it. I was like, oh, okay, cool. But also at that stage it was okay because we were only selling at food markets, so it's not like it was on the shelf, which would have had a bigger impact.
So you could still sell those 4,000.
So I could still sell those.
Just not inside of the shops and stuff like that.
Yeah. So that was the costly one with not knowing exactly what to do and which places to go, which again, in the space of entrepreneurship, it's sad that there isn't enough information of where to go to for stuff. That should be like a very basic thing that it's out there, because all of us who have products, we have to do labeling, right? So it should be information that's readily available. Everybody knows where to go. You were reading something here earlier, back to nectar. Why is it a nectar and not just juice? So so this is how it works. If I take an orange juice, squeeze it out, that's juice.
Yes.
Nothing has been added in its natural form, that's juice. If I take lemon juice, squeeze it out, mix it with orange juice, we have a blend, a juice blend, because we're blending two juices together. Now, if I take lemon, because lemon is very bitter, you can't drink it on its own like that, and I put in sugar and water, then that's what is called a nectar blend, right? Well, a nectar. And so when you mix two nectars together, then that's what a nectar blend is, which is what our lemonade is, because it's lemon juice and cranberry juice put together. And with sugar and water.
So if it didn't have sugar, you could call it orange juice. Yes.
If it was just the lemons on their own.
Yes.
Yes. So it could either be juice or juice blend if I'm mixing the two.
Why do these and this obviously I'm going off now, but why do these apple juices then call apple juice if they have sugar and water? And they also have 70% apple juice.
Yeah, because the amount, with each fruit, again, if you go back to DEF and they'll explain the breakdown. So with each fruit, there's a minimum percentage of the fruit that must be in. So with lemons, you only need, I think, something like 10% of that, right? For it to, when you're making the juice. So a minimum must be that. If it's less, then you can't call it that. So that's why it will say 70% this, or,
I see we have grocery here.
Yes, we have grocery.
Please take us through.
So we're talking about packaging, and I love packaging, right? I love packaging because I'm one of those people who I'll buy a product purely because of packaging. If the packaging is amazing, but it has to be amazing, right? I will buy it because of that. And there has been studies that about as high as 70 to 80% of people buy products based on packaging. So it definitely affects sales. One of the things I did when I was now working on the packaging and clear that this is how I want to position it as an African luxury product, I'd go into shops and go into the drink section and just have a look and see which one stands out. And a lot of them have the same bottle, similar packaging, similar kind of positioning of things that it's very hard, and some of them will even have the same color. So you'd have blue things, but it's 4 different brands. Do you know what I mean? And that speaks to the packaging and this is part of why we do packaging, is that on the shelf, you want something that will stand out at people, so they pick that product. So I love packaging for that. So let's start with it. Butternut. I love their milk. So they do like nut milk, so macadamia milk. So initially their product was do you want me to put it in? So they had like a bottle shape, a normal bottle shape, but it was, I don't know if it was completely plastic. It looked like plastic, so it could have been made out of recycled metal. I wouldn't know that much. So they changed that packaging and then they came up with this. And what I love about their packaging here is that part of their brand is taking you in on their journey. So for example, they have there's a plant-based cap. So speaking to the consumer who obviously is very conscious about the effects of stuff
on the environment,
and whatnot, and then they take you through the journey that they've gone through of why they changed the packaging, the impact that it's had. So for example, 40% less energy consumed to produce this thing,
So they take you through the production process.
Yeah, but they've made it part of their brand story where they didn't just do packaging alone and that was it, but they've told you the story of why even the... And I love also how they kind of celebrate the clients, because they're saying we are the reasons that this is happening. So they go, thanks to you, demand for butternut milk increased beyond our wildest dreams. So then... part of that was they needed to find efficient ways to produce from packaging. That bottle apparently, as much as they loved it, it had the retro vibe, but it wasn't necessarily the most efficient way for them to produce. So this is it. So I love them for that. You know, I'm trying to transition from, I don't want to be like completely vegan, because I love me some bacon and I love cheese, and I'll never give those up.
It's so late for you.
However, 90% of my diet is plant-based. So I don't like meat. I've never really liked meat. So
But you like bacon.
the only thing I love and I'll never give up is bacon, which is why I'll never be vegan. So even milk, I'm transitioning slowly, but so I've started doing this, and I love that. I love that I was there beginning of the journey with the old package, and now with this new one, and they're telling the story of what's happening, which is what. So besides it standing out, it will stand out in that they bring you in onto the journey and how they've transitioned and how they're growing and how we are part of it as the consumers and the clients. You know what I mean? The customers. So I love that. Right?
So there's a thing when Mandela says, people say don't judge the book by its outcover. But people judge.
Is all of
but people judge the book by its outcover. So if you know that people will judge the book by its outcover, even though conventional wisdom says don't dress properly.
Of course.
Okay.
And that's the whole point of packaging is that we know people will judge.
So the tech people don't do
no, tech people. Yes. Okay, the next one.
Okay. So my favorite meal in the entire world, it's bread, cheese, and acha sandwich with oros.
All right. Some of us grew up in the township. We don't even know what asha sandwich is, but anyway.
So,
Hey.
what are you guys talking about?
Hot vegetable.
So this is hot vegetable acha from Peko. Been around for years and years and years. All of our family gatherings, there's going to be a salad made out of this, right? And part of packaging as well is that it must serve, so we speak about user experience, right? How well, because it also affects sales, right? People think packaging is just for things to look pretty, but there's more stuff about functionality and how practical it is and what's the user experience from when I buy this and I get home and I have to use it. So this is a sealed one, right? And I've always been like an irritation of how difficult this thing is to open. So it's not functional. So the user experience is really bad. But for products like this that have been around for so many years, a company like Peko takes that for granted that our product is doing well. People are buying it. This is where smaller companies come in and can disrupt you because all they need to do is, because this is not a difficult thing to make, right? Pickled stuff, it's acha. We all know how to make acha. They just use vegetables, whereas your conventional acha is mango, right? So they use vegetables instead. So all a small brand has to do is bring this in, even if they did the same product, but the functionality, the product, you know, the how we experience it, the user experience, if they just change that, it changes the game, right?
So there's a joke that when a guy was breaking up with his girlfriend, I was like, yeah, good luck. I wonder who will open your jar of mayonnaise. Because you need manpower.
So you'll see. So the idea is there, right? So what they'll have is these little arrows here to show you where you're supposed to tear this thing out. But you see, even just the tearing it out is difficult. And then they have these perforated lines here, which are very small. They used to be very big before. It doesn't work. I have never in my entire life received this and been able to open it the proper way, or at least how they want you to open it. It just doesn't work. And this is why you also have testing when you do packaging, that you do a focus group, give it to them, see how they operate.
All right. We have here.
So we have here hibiscus petals, one of my favorite teas from Woolies. So this is new packaging for them, right? I'll show you. I'll show you different things with this. What I love about this is they've always made these pretty, even with the old packaging. And teas generally is, they're thinking of women. So we like pretty things, and you must know that about your target audience and the product that you're creating, that it must serve them, right? So they've changed the packaging, which is still pretty. What I used to have a gripe with them was this. This is how the tea bags used to come, right? And sometimes I'll be in a hurry, I want to drink tea wherever I get to. but now how do I carry this? Because it's exposed and this is what's going to go into the water, which means it will get dirty, or I'd have to wrap it in, tissue or whatever. So it wasn't functional. And remember also, the target market, Woolies, is your corporate girlies, which means I want to have this tea at work as well, right? But it wasn't practical, the user experience coming in. Woolies said, we've got you, girl, which was what I love. And this is why companies must invest in R&D, right? Because you're constantly, whatever product you bring, you need to be able to understand and pivot and improve on things. So they came up with this tea bag. So now it's enclosed, it's safe, so you can take it with to work and you open it there and it's beautiful, it functions. Also the box, what they did with the new one is the old ones were typical that you just open like that on the top. So they've given you options because part of it is, Woolies, people want to floss. What we must see. And even if you're not flossing with products, the whole idea of a good product packaging is you want people to be proud to show it off because that's the marketing that's built into the packaging. And sales built into, which is why packaging is so good, is that if it's done well, then the people become advocates for you, right? They'll go talk about it, they display it, and people see it. So if somebody were to take this to work and display it, it looks pretty. Now people want something pretty as well. So then they did this little slots here, like you saw. So you can just pull it out of there, right? Or you open it at the top.
So opening this is not hard.
No, but also it gives you different options based on how you're displaying it, that they have this side, which tells you what it is there, and then they also have this side. The only thing that I think they missed an opportunity on is that if you are stacking them up like this, especially because they've created the slot where you pull them out, and you are stacking them up like that next to each other, then nothing tells you what this is. So I think the improvement would be to still pull in the hibiscus petals to write it there. Because when you are using this,
you can't
there's a new
see
way of that they've designed that you can pull these things out from here at the bottom.
So you just need to know that the pink one is this.
And that's the thing where I think they're failing. I have another one, apple and cinnamon and something else. The color is similar.
Willis is winning with you.
Make good products and then you win with people, right?
Yeah.
Again, they have one with cinnamon.
Oh,
it's similar color.
So
it's
you would
darker,
still be
so
you know what? In fact, I bought this. In fact, you're so right. I bought this. This. It's not a Horlicks, but it's like this hot chocolate thing. And so I was not looking, but I saw a similar color. I took it. Kanti, it's not hazelnut. It's dark chocolate. Oh, Nkosiam.
Man, that
And you don't
nice.
have
And no, not on thing.
Chocolate.
So even when I'm doing, I'm not focusing on the thing. In my head, it's similar color.
You know?
Until I start to drink, I'm like, no, man, this is not the one that I wanted. Hey.
Can I ask you a question? Maybe go.
Yeah, let's finish.
No, because I was going to say what you're talking about actually is why Checkers and Pick and Pay had a fight, because they went, one started before the other, the second one went, but they used the same colors. So then people were complaining to say people will get confused because of the brand colors were so similar. They were both trying to use navy, and I was like, Checkers, but it has the turquoise. Why didn't they go for the turquoise? So that is what plays a role as well. Like when you go onto the shelf, why things must stand out is even the colors that you've used in your packaging already determine that.
Pinxy.
This is a well-crafted thing.
Spices.
Listen. So, but I've thought about, those kinds of things. So the peony is our flower. And I had these flowers there, like sort of they're hugging because our community, which I call Pinxies, it's about a community of women celebrating the magic of sisterhood. So I wanted the two embracing to kind of put the message through of, we're celebrating sisterhood. So on the side there, our philosophy of create your happiness, and it just quickly describes what that is. The Pinxies there, our logo is visible, it's clear. We use a clear bottle so you can see the color of the drink as well. So, which is interesting because it's designed also that you can age it. So it starts off as salmon color, but the longer it is, it becomes, the hues start to change and they deepen into like this rosy, like this dark rose kind of pink. the barcode at the back, the emphasis of the flower. The whole point is our butterfly is fluttering through this peony garden. So messaging around this was there that it must be clear. It's a drink.
So opening it, I don't need biceps to...
No, you don't. It's just a twist thing. Very easy to do.
So you saw this one. I bought this specifically for today's show.
Sure, Doc.
So I saw this part of packaging as well. Normally how we open cans is... And which is hard, especially for women, and you would have
Nails,
seen, that people even use spoons to open it because it's difficult for us women with things. So then they came up with this.
You just twist it.
That you twist it.
And it's open.
And it's open, right? But I went a step further to say, for women, they must create a little hole for the straw because some of us don't enjoy drinking from there. If you brought it from shops, there's dust. And now
but do you really think that this is for that feminine woman?
No, but this is actually for men, which is why I'm good. However, with any product, you'll have your primary target market and then you'll have your secondary market.
Who's your secondary with Pinxy?
Funny, so it's children and...
Men are last, basically.
Men are lost, but they buy it for their women, right? So obviously I'm not targeting them, but they buy it for my primary target market. And then women, because generally women are with children, and children love it as well. So those are my secondary target market.
Cool.
So I love that about it.
Are we done?
This one,
yes.
So again, functionality and recycling together into this. Can I use your cup? Your cup?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So... what was built into this is for recycling peppers. What you do with it when you're done is you're supposed to turn it so that it doesn't take too much space and lock it and you throw it away. Initially, because this is my favorite sparkling water, initially when they started this, the plastic was too hard, so you have to really work at it. Yes. So again, R&D, they realized that it was too hard to do this. Now
that's why that's the twisty thing.
Yeah, but the twisted thing was also hard initially when they still brought it. It was too hard to twist this. So now this one is lighter, so it's easy to do. So packaging.
So recycling. Yeah. And interesting, when I was in Europe.
Jet setting.
So it was, but I think it's here in the country though. I was quite fascinated by the caps. Yeah. So when you open it, like here, you open it, you can take the cap. But those ones, when you open it, the caps are sort of locked. And you are then, you drink, and then when you close,
but I'm sorry, that's horrible for me. I want to drink without something hitting me the whole time.
Well, I think they are looking at the environment, so you're going to have to sacrifice. Chill. Okay.
Here's my question, right?
Sure.
But this is amazing. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I didn't get to talk about my packaging.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Please go through.
So part of the packaging as well, again, when you're thinking of fulfillment, right? In your space where you are packaging all of this. So part of it would be that how much storage your stuff takes. So our box has a self-locking mechanism. So you'll see these tabs, they lock into each other. This is where...
okay.
So our stuff you can recycle because we don't use glue on it. And our printing that we've done is also water-based. So it's not dangerous to the environment. So you can use that, So, there was a lot of process that went to it. So when they deliver this, everything is flat. So which means like a pallet that came through had 3,000 things stacked in, whereas this uses glue, right? Which means then that when you are receiving it, there needs to be a place where you either have to use glue to put it together, right? Which is an extra step in when you guys are putting
extra expense as well.
Extra expense as well, yeah. So we made sure that we made this as simple as possible and also that it's easy to recycle. So yeah.
Thank you. Yes, sir. You have been holding your question for...
I even forgot it. I'm joking. I think it's obvious that people should be, as a company or as a business, you must be able to afford to do certain things.
Yeah.
The reason I'm saying that is I see Woolies in what they do with the new packaging, right? They basically just did something extra to what they already had for convenience. And they can afford to do that because they are in the luxury market. A Joko, a Five Roses, they don't have time for that because their market is, listen, you can buy one at home, you can buy one at work because it's cheap enough.
Yeah.
And we're not going to waste time to make it in these packets if it's actually going to cost us more. So for them, it's a volumes game rather than a luxury game.
Of course.
And a lot of, obviously, what I've seen now is the more luxury you are, the more customer experience you can afford to put in.
Yeah.
But a lot of the people, and not to say only, but most of the time, now my question is more around, because there's these two segments, when do you actually decide when to actually package something in a way that will fulfill your end customers' needs without them having to go and innovate or add extra paper for the bag or whatever. Yeah.
I think the answer is in the question already. You deciding on who your target market is.
Yeah.
There's a Polo, there's a Ferrari.
Yeah.
There's enough people to go buy Ferraris, there's enough people to go buy the Polos. So as a person who is innovating and you're coming up with a product, you choose the market that you want to play in.
Yes.
And once you've chosen, then that determines everything else, from the packaging, how you're speaking to people, all of that determines that. So for me, it's just in who's your target market and how do you want them to experience things. What I'm finding interesting, though, is that even the lower end products, people have started considering the customer journey because there are more players now with products. So people are no longer just saying, oh, because this one is cheap, deal with it. So they're starting to kind of come up with ways to make the user experience a little bit more enhanced while still trying to keep things affordable if that's the market that they've chosen. Because of the fact that there are more people entering markets now, and it's not just Coca-Cola for however many years was the only one, it forces companies now to think of other things other than the product. You know, like there'll never be another Coca-Cola in the sense that cola exists now. It's a thing, so you'll never have the story and the success of Coca-Cola that way, because like soda exists now. If I go decide to bring up salt, there's so many players now in that: Himalayan salt, pink salt,
Cerebos,
volcano,
ash
salt. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So now there's so many products and people are also available. So one of the things that people will say to me, I remember I was pitching for funding one time and I spoke about Dutchess. I love Dutchess. Excuse me, they do non-alcoholic gin and tonic mix. And the person was like, no, don't speak about them because you must want everybody to drink Pinxy. I'm like, no, I drink Oros, but I love Pinxy. And there's nothing you can do that's going to make me change Oros because as one consumer, I must drink water and I want options of what I want to drink. I've always believed in abundance, that there's more than enough people, consumers, available for us to all play in there and still be very profitable. Do you know what I mean? The same person who drinks Coca-Cola will also enjoy Pinxy. Do you know what I mean? When they want the variety, right? We are just bringing a sophisticated alternative for women, that you want something beautiful that represents who you are when you're out drinking.
I find that a lot of entrepreneurs in the entrepreneurship journey, they move from, I have an idea, they build a product, but the product is just a basic thing that I can put in front of people and people buy. So it's idea, product, market, business. Then you build a business from there. But I find that today, with the sophisticated market that we're having, with the whole sort of like we're living in the information age and exposure through social media as well, people then get to sort of be picky about the type of product that talks to them. And which then means that an entrepreneur has to come back to the product and say, okay, how's the product packaged? It's not just tea bag, put it into something and throw it there. But is it telling a story? What story is it telling? Is it resonating with these people? Is it convenient to use? Is it durable to use? And so then product labeling, for instance, because suddenly you can't just say something that you're actually not, it will do this, but actually it doesn't do that. and then the labeling has to be truthful. You can't lie or over-exaggerate something because then there are laws that comes in. One of the other things that we haven't spoken about is product testing, that this thing goes into someone's mouth, right? Is it being tested? Is it being lab tested, for instance? Especially now in South Africa with this whole listeriosis and kids and dying from expired foods and all those kind of things. So the product is not just, especially if it goes into your mouth, it's not just, it looks cool, but it needs to also be tested, shelf life, barcoding. So the whole process.
Can I ask something? Is that also not just a function of which market segment you're in?
Look, I think irrespective of which market segment you are in, if people are going to take something into their own mouth, into their own body, right? And maybe you can get away in informal markets. Right?
So the reason I'm actually asking is that, so on Saturdays, you'll get right. On Saturday, a friend of mine and I went to one of his competitors. Now they do warehousing. They do cashing. They don't do cash and carry, but one of the competitors is a cash and carry. So they just do a distribution center, and in suites and those kind of things. And I went to this competitor, and this competitor sells everything from your getters to suites that I've never even heard of in my life. You know what I mean? Suites that come in the most basic proper packaging. And one of the things he said, and I really do believe, that's why I'm asking you that, because one of the suites that I said, it was literally the most basic. It was like transparent packaging, transparent, and then with the sweets, the lollipop, and the lollipop just had the thing. That's it. With obviously the colors of the thing, right? Which is the branding, I guess. But and then he said, no, the thing is, there's a lot of people that have this segment. The lollipops, simply there were like 10 of them or 20 of them, and inside of the packet, and the packet was like 25 rand. It was very cheap, whilst the yogurters are hitting 100 and something, which is two different marketplaces, right? And that's what I'm saying. Does it not kind of like depend on the...
Look, yeah, I think ultimately you can get away with it if, in the informal market. Like, for instance, you have these guys who have this home-brewed Sokam beer, for instance. Sogam beer, not Sokam.
It's
Sogam. Sogam beer. So, and most of them, for a very long time, that has been the tradition in rural areas, right? Until someone or some people die because of the acid has expired or something bad in the thing, and people die in numbers, and that's where regulation come in. To sort of say someone who just wants to enjoy this thing, they don't know that this thing's gonna kill them. So the honors to prove that it doesn't kill them lies with you. So it's okay for as long as no one gets hurt. But if people get hurt, you are liable as the owner.
No, but I mean that's isn't that more of a product based, not necessarily product packaging? No,
I'm saying part of the packaging. Because remember, as entrepreneurs, we come in. We look at here's a basic product. And it's ready. I drink it. I'm fine. I take it to market. And what Reneilwe is saying is actually there's more to it, right? There's the whole packaging needs to look this way, that way, that way. But also the labeling is part of the packaging. It needs to be a particular way. But also as part of the packaging, you need to be able to say this has been tested. And it needs to have been tested. Right? And approved. And shelf life. Right? It needs to say don't consume best before this. Right? So that's part of the package. Because if it doesn't have those barcoding, best before and it doesn't pass product.
That I get. So what I'm getting to now is because Woolies here, if I've gotten Rooibos fresh pack, Woolies is actually just selling convenience. For them, if it doesn't convenience you, they're not selling. Because that's what you're buying, right? You're buying the fact that I don't want to be holding a tea bag in a plastic anyway, right? I could easily just say, I want 3 of these, and then put them in the bag, and they will not tear, or they will not. That's just convenience.
But also product. Remember with Woolies, the step that they're already working on is that, our products are already of superior quality.
Yeah,
Which is why then we go into packaging and convenience the user experience.
Yeah.
So we're not just buying for packaging, it's also because the product it's great. Going back to him to say, the reason also we are comfortable as consumers to go buy from certain people is because I know the product has been tested. So my health is not in danger.
Yeah.
Pinxy's been tested. We tested with SABS because you don't want to kill people.
Yeah.
You want to make sure that your product is healthy and it's not dangerous.
So let's say you go to this, right? You buy this thing. Work with me. So you take So you take the sachet out and you put it in a plastic somewhere, cheap plastic, and you go and sell it in an informal market.
Yes.
But the packaging is
it's not there.
It's not there, right? But because of the nature of that market, they don't care about the market, so they'll buy. Right? But of course, it's that nature of that market. Right? Because the people there might be price sensitive more than
100%.
quality sensitive. But what I'm getting at is, as long as that product, if you were to look at the fit, because that's why there's product numbering, right? So that if something happens with this product,
the package with
we're then able to trace it back to which part, and we try to trace the other products. So as long as that product, even though you have taken it out of the packaging and you give it to someone else in your own repackaged and it's not compliant, right? And of course, the people there, they don't care about the packaging, and it's not going to harm them because it's already been tested.
Yes.
Then that you can get away with that. Right. But if you did this and trying your own skills.
Maybe what I was thinking of, Nem, is because I do get that.
Yeah.
Because outside of the basics,
yes,
a Polo and a Ferrari still takes you from A to B, but a Ferrari is going to either take you there faster, maybe safer, and with more comfort. But it will still take you where the Polo takes you.
Yes, but the Polo also has been tested.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. Hence, I say to you, because there's luxury, there's ultra luxury, there's luxury, there's premium, and then there's the lower end. All of those things, if they are tested, people at the end of the day will still, well, not people, the very segment that you are appealing to will be the people that will buy. Right? But the guys so in South Africa, because we know that more than 70 or 60% of the people are in poverty line, they're not thinking, I need this Woolies packaging that will do this. They're thinking, I want tea.
But I think what Reneilwe is saying...
Wait. What I was trying to say earlier on as well is that, remember when I was saying even low-end products, things are changing. Because consumers, because of we live in an information world now, are also starting to awaken to all of the other things that they were previously not privy to and aware of, right? So the common thing, I love acha. Acha, you go to somebody's house, it's a couple packaging, they dish into your own container, you leave. Or it's that clear one with the red lid.
The one you also gave us here.
No, not.
Oh, you mean the normal acha that we all know?
The normal acha that we all know.
With the red lid acha.
With the red lid, that's when it's packaged. But kasi you go with your own scuff tin, Tupperware.
Yes.
And you go home, 20 rand, you complain.
But that's the one that slaps.
That is the one that slaps. We grew up with mango trees, so my grandma used to make acha.
So there's something about the container.
No, but actually, not even, just tangent. I have always complained about how sometimes we kind of take things for granted, right? Acha, red lid, and that's it, right? And then I went to one market and they did normal acha, but they put coriander in it, and then they did bottle, but it was still like delicious acha, right? And I'm like, they were able to charge 80 rands because now it's been put in a different thing and whatnot.
But see, the market thing.
Right? Same thing. But also, at some point, we need to wake up to that. How do we package things, understanding that it's still for the lower end of the consumer in a way that is also acceptable? So this is what we're talking about, that consumers are starting to awaken to that. Like, I know Bokasi now, there's a thing of when you go to buy spatlo, you look at the house, you look at how they're preparing you kind of start questioning how the food was made.
Can I ask you that? Is it not because you
have evolved?
Yeah, that I mean,
No, I
you've
haven't-
seen well, what I'm trying to get to, and it's something. It's that whole privilege thing, right? Is that to
You have seen better.
you've seen better, and therefore
No. Sparkle has to do with cleanliness, hygiene.
no, that I get. Yeah.
So, but it's a thing that there's certain places where you go to, it's dirty. Like you kind of will turn around because you're like, nope.
But,
and then there are
but
other
that rule
places.
that rule does not apply to Magwenya.
But that's what I'm saying.
Magwenya,
It's the same
Like-
you know that Makom, that one is sweaty. But Magwenya, slugs, those ones. Aku hulwetse, aku,
Asemagwenya,
But you see,
right?
they call it Magwenya.
Mara ke di-fat cakes.
You know
Mara
what I
ke
mean?
di-fat cakes, re nyaka Magwenya. Ala, beola.
But do you not think, and I love that whole thing, but do you not think we're also getting to a point
Yeah.
where
No.
as soon as you step up and the person is sweating and swiping and you're like, oh, what?
That's what makes it
Laboring. Laboring, I'm not, but no, guys. And also,
You're a special recipe.
Yeah.
social media, there was a video where they were showing where they were
chicken.
mixing the dough with their feet. Like, and then you're like, hey guys, this is why sometimes.
But if it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger. When you didn't see it, it was making you
And
stronger.
In some instances, I have gone to places where I've gone to buy sparkle and I'm like, I see nothing. I will eat this sparkle as
they
if
say-
I did not see that cockroach,
They
that
say,
rat.
they say in most restaurants, if you go to the kitchen,
Yeah.
you'll never
Won't
go
eat.
eat.
Yeah.
But again, things are evolving because, you know.
I mean, it's the same principle that Pie City, or was it Kimpai, when they opened their back office. So there was a whole trend of how they prepare their pie. So they prepare their pie in the open,
Yeah.
so that you can see that
Yes.
it's clean, you know, and they put it together, they put it in the oven.
And that actually, you know what? You're right to say it. Sometimes it doesn't cost you. Sometimes it does.
Yeah.
Because again, a market that's selling a lollipop for R1 and the changes that you need to do outside of what needs to be the standard.
Yeah.
If you add to that, you have to add that 50 cents to that lollipop. You're already taking away the market of the person that can afford only R1 lollipops.
But for me, where my argument comes in is somebody's health being considered should be the basics and the bare minimum. Do you know what I mean? Which shouldn't cost a company extra to just have a clean place to operate.
But you know,
from.
the sad part is healthy food is more expensive.
It is, but that's what I mean. Is that
Yeah.
the problem? What I'm trying to say is, the world as it is, right? There's a lot of people, 8 billion people, let's say. In that 8 billion, you cannot do things that are take long to actually, because we have to feed all these people, meaning you have to do all these enhancements, all the beef that we eat, all the vegetables, you know what I mean? And outside, and that's what I'm saying, the only reason things are very expensive to be healthy is because the way to do it to be healthy is
think-
But
expensive.
you know, also, hold on, where it goes back to now, it goes back to what you started earlier on with profit and
Yeah.
different kinds of companies. The reason it's also cheaper, it's because there are things in there that really, when we look at, a lot of bad things are
100%.
happening because we are fast tracking how, like, the product output. We want 100,000 of things done in an hour. And again,
It's a fast food thing.
where are we rushing to? Like, can we come back? But we've
It's
created
a-
a system.
Yeah,
We have created a system where things must be like this,
I think there's
which
been-
compromises health.
Yeah, I think there's been a whole thing about the food value chain and how the food value chain was designed. And it's designed in such a way that healthy food, so it's like if you were to look at a highway, for instance, healthy food and non-healthy food are on a highway, but on two separate lanes. And the healthy food one is, it's sort of designed for a particular type of people who can afford. And this other one, which is designed for people who cannot afford, has been deliberately left to all the unhealthy food items. So it's not a consequence by the market. It was deliberately designed that way.
But Doug, don't you think also it's a consumerism thing as well? Like, look, we're going on a tangent thing, but there's 8 billion people. How are you going to feed 8 billion people
So-
with waiting twice or three times as long?
Yeah,
to
again,
produce the same
it's a
food?
value chain design, right? It's a value chain
So are
design.
you saying that it could be faster?
Yeah.
Without it being so unhealthy?
Yes.
Yes.
There has actually been arguments to say there's enough food for everybody, right?
Okay.
There's enough food for everybody, but if I'm going to put up a plant and I want to put up a plant and the goal is to maximize profit, right? And people who have the budget, the high NSM, they are more conscious, they're more informed, they're more conscious of their health and they want healthy food. So they are the ones who, if I prepare healthy food, it's going to take me long, but they can afford. So there's a higher return on investment. These other ones, they're not health conscious. Even if I just do the scraps and give it to them, they'll still eat because you know what, they're hungry. So there's that clear demarcation. So when you look at how the whole value chain from farming to your table, there's a whole value chain for a particular market.
Yes.
There's a whole value chain for a particular market. And those, it's a class thing, right? Poor people, they don't care about their health, let's give them the crabs. Higher LSM people, they are, conscious about their health, let's give them. But obviously, the cost thereof is not the same.
Sure.
Yeah. So it will take her to get this SABS tested. It's money,
No, 100%.
right? So,
But you have to get it tested what? How many times do you have to? Just once?
no, just once, right?
Well, twice because you have to do the nutritional one.
Oh yes,
microbiology,
neutral and the
shelf
microbiome.
life.
Yeah,
Okay,
microbiome. Yeah.
cool.
So, but I'm saying once you have done it, that's
Yeah.
it.
It's
right?
yeah.
It's money,
Yeah.
right? And people that are gonna buy this thing are higher LSM, right?
Yeah.
Right. But if someone was to come and say, "But why is it it's expensive?"
Yeah.
Let's go to SABS. Let's subsidize SABS so that anyone
Yes.
can test their products.
Yes,
Even
for free.
those for free.
Yes.
Even those who are targeting Malesela or me, for instance,
Yes.
they can. So that's the value chain that I'm talking about. To say if you're gonna target the high LSM, that value chain is expensive. And the poor people, we don't care.
Designed that way as well. Not
It's
necessarily
designed
because
that
it is,
Yeah.
but because, spinach is spinach.
But that's what I'm trying to
And
get
it's
to, right?
healthy, but how, like
Pesticides.
what he's talking about, exactly, because hey, let's get as many of these things out. And now when you go, tamatis are they're like 25 rands, 35 rands, go 5 rand for a packet. Do you know what I mean?
But what I'm getting to in that, right, as well, and maybe we have to wrap up.
Yeah.
But what I'm getting with that, right, is the pesticides needs to be used. And we can't use the organic way of doing pesticides because that's very expensive because we can't get enough of it to put on the vegetables so that we can actually produce enough for people to eat. So we have to fast track it. The invention of, what's that? Was it bird poo that they did, that they found somewhere, and then that contained something that has pesticide that they could eventually, and even mining, you mine a certain ingredient. Now, that obviously it's cheaper, it's not as healthy, but because it's extracted faster and more efficient than if you went to a natural pesticide, it's actually still going to be cheaper to create that thing for people to eat, even though it's not as healthy. So you almost have to, you can't get healthy and cheap at the same time.
But see, this is what we're
So
talking about.
look at it like water, right? Water is drunk by everybody,
Yeah.
right? And water is tested,
Yeah.
right? I mean, it's a human right,
Yeah.
and everybody drinks water, right? And the water that is tested and it's healthy for everybody. I'm of course saying if you're coming from the rural area, you come here,
Yeah.
you open the tap, the water that someone with driving a Lamborghini,
Yeah, it's the same.
it's the same.
Yes.
And that's what I'm saying, that there is those politics of food that says that, you know what, because I believe that there's no reason why food for the masses shouldn't be healthy. There isn't a reason, except to sort of say, less margins here.
Doc, I'll say yes because you're the doctor here.
No, but
So
also
check out the TEDx Johannesburg Hacking the Farm.
Okay.
There's a couple of talks there
Okay,
that
that'll
talks
be
about
interesting.
food politics of food. Yeah.
But even as consumers, part of the whole being purposeful as a business and everybody else in the value chain, not just in the product itself. We need to get to a point where how we consume stuff changes. You know, you can't eat the McDonald's every day and be surprised when you have health issues. Do you know what I mean? So the whole idea of that convenience, but how convenient is it if you end up now being sick and your health is at risk and you can't even perform basic functions. You know what I mean? So it's not just how we are producing stuff, it's also speaking to us as consumers. What do we really need, and how fast must we have these things, and why do we need to have them that quick? You know what I mean? Our lifestyles, I don't have enough time to cook, which is why I'm like, why do we not have enough time to cook? And so it's
the world is just busier. You know, okay, there's this book.
We need to wrap it up.
Yeah, we are wrapping. This is my last statement, and after this you can say your final words, Doc, your final words. But there's a book I read, or I started actually, I just didn't finish it. Which one is it? Everything is Connected.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I don't think, and this is maybe my life motto, not my life motto, but one of the biggest influences of my life is the fact that we can't say one thing is going to change something else. Because everything some other way is connected. You almost have to get all of these in sync for things to actually go forward and change in the right way. But because all of these things everyone is just pulling from every direction, it will be hard for that to happen.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Last word.
About what exactly? Packaging or?
Yeah.
Parting shot.
Look, for me, I say we are moving to a point where, as businesses, we need to be more purposeful. Why do we package things the way we do? The user experience taken into account. The marketing of the product must go into how you actually come up with the packaging, the sales, and all of that. But beyond that, again, it's what Pinxy is about, is create your happiness from within, how we change it, because everything is connected. If I go within and I realize I don't need all these things that I have because I already have what I need, then I consume things differently, which impacts everything, has the butterfly effect, right?
Yes.
Like all of that.
Yes.
But for as long as we live in this world where we are saying, but it's so difficult, then we never get to change stuff. You know what I mean? So I think just awakening to that on how everybody else's choices affect each other and how everything is connected, then we start looking at things very differently.
So be conscious, basically.
Be conscious. Definitely be conscious.
Awesome. For me, you let your product tell a story. People buy stories more than anything else. He buys an Apple because he believes in the story of Apple. If there was Tesla in the country, he would have bought Tesla because he believes.
120%.
So he believes in the mask story. Ultimately, people buy stories, and let's be conscious about the stories that we tell, and share those stories. Let it be stories that are inspiring people. People will buy a Coke with the name because the product is telling the story of your name, and I see Coke has brought that campaign back now, right, which has resulted in huge profits for them. So sit down, think about the story that your product tells, and tell the story.
How it makes people feel.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It needs to be stories that resonate. Yeah. Awesome. Is that the pod?
That is the pod. Doc,
take us home.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in into another of our episodes. This one was quite long, Doc. But yes.
And we're still not done.
Actually, there's so much to actually talk about in packaging. So we'll invite her again.
Yeah.
This time actually talking about companies that have blundered in a big way because of product. Because actually there are some stories I saw, and it would have been interesting to kind of like talk about them. But thank you again for tuning in to another installment of Fail Forward Friday. Like, subscribe, comment, and share with your people all out there, and go drink some Joker without the packaging, please.
Go
Pinxy.
drink some Pinxy, y'all.
Oh, drink some Pinxy. Enjoy, and thank you very much, everyone.
Awesome. Thank you.
Bye.